Final game of the stream will be Tottenham against Chelsea, Sunday 4:30 p.m. kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Again, Tottenham play tonight against Bournemouth, so can't really comment too much on injuries and suspensions or predicted lineups for them. Just have to keep an eye on what happens today. For Chelsea, though, they recently demolished Southampton, and we saw Enzo Maresca opt for quite an interesting lineup in that game. We obviously saw no Nicholas Jackson, but I would imagine he comes back into the 11 here. Obviously, with Chelsea, they've sort of had a separate 11 for their cup games and Conference League games, and an 11 for their Premier League games. That becomes a bit interesting whenever you have sort of midweek Premier League games, and we saw sort of a mixture of those two teams against Southampton in the last game. Obviously, we saw Nkunku start, but we saw no Colwell or no Badiashile. So, again, very difficult to predict how Chelsea line up in this game. I would imagine they go full strength, the sort of regular 11 we've seen in the league so far, and that would be sort of Nicholas Jackson coming back in, Colwell coming back in. But again, just a bit of uncertainty. Could use this game to sort of gain a bit more information. One thing that I'm confident in, though, is that this will be a high-scoring fixture, and the market does seem to agree with that. So over 3.5 goals is priced at evens. Both teams to score, and over 2.5 goals is priced at 1.57. So the market is expecting action at both ends. Has the potential to be quite an entertaining game. And so the first angle for me is for Cole Palmer to score or assist at 1.8 with Paddy Power. And just on the surface, I think this looks a bit too high. Expecting sort of 4 goals in the game, Cole Palmer is likely the one to be instrumental for Chelsea in the final third. And so 1.8 does look a bit too high for me. Especially given that he scored in back-to-back games. He obviously had a bit of a rut in form a couple of weeks ago, but seems back to his best. Looks fantastic in the last 2 games. And that's obviously coincided with a purple patch for Chelsea, who are pushing Liverpool. They're 7 points behind Liverpool, looking in fantastic form. And as I said a few weeks ago, they are one team to keep an eye on. They look really, really good going forward in the attacking third, and they've got the depth to sort of compete at the level they are competing. First or sort of second bet, apart from that Cole Palmer one, would be for Madueke to make 1 or more fouls, which is priced at 1.8 with Bet365. I think he's a player that has seen a massive uptick in duels this season recently for Chelsea. He was obviously dropped on the weekend, played midweek, so his sort of whether he starts or not here is not guaranteed. I'm actually leaning towards he doesn't start, but he was called out actually by Enzo Maresca after being dropped for sort of lack of intensity in training. And I think what that can do is it can sort of push him the complete opposite side and give him additional motivation to sort of be more up for games. And we did kind of see that in his last game against Southampton. So if we look into his foul data, he's made a foul in 7 of his last 8 starts, including 2 last time out against Southampton. So that sort of push from Maresca in that press conference did seem to provide him with a bit of added motivation. And he's priced at 1.8 to make a foul with 365. So given the hit rates, given how he's sort of seen an uptick in tackles, which I mentioned last week, and fouls over the last few weeks, this looks a really, really nice price. As I say, no guarantee that he starts, but if he does, he'll be up against Udogie, most likely, which is, again, fantastic matchup. And I like that price a lot, 1.8 with 365 to commit a foul. Another player who I mentioned last week for Chelsea who didn't start was Malo Gusto. And his tackle price has, again, remained quite high, which is good. Unfortunately, he missed out in the game that I wanted to back him, but he did return against Southampton. And in that game, he made 7 tackles. Here, he'll find duels against Heung-min Son. Fantastic matchup. And he's made 2 or more tackles in 7 out of 11 games this season. He's priced at, I believe, 1.5 to make 2 or more tackles with Bet365. So on the surface, looks decent value, but combining it with the matchup against Son should be very, very heavily involved on the defensive end. You can actually combine that with a Jackson shot on target, and that will boost the odds to evens. So as I mentioned, I reckon Nicholas Jackson does come back into the lineup after his midweek rest. He didn't play at all. And if we look into his shot data, it's quite remarkable actually, because he's had a shot on target in every appearance so far this season. He's only averaging 2.71 shots per 90, nothing ridiculous, but it's the quality of chance that he's receiving that is sort of one to keep an eye on. He's hit this line against the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, so he's hit it in the hardest matchups. Against Tottenham, who are without their main centre-back pairing, Van de Ven is definitely out. Christian Romero is doubtful, so they haven't got their starting centre-back pairing. I think Jackson is one to take advantage of that, especially without Van de Ven missing that sort of recovery pace. He's the one who can sort of deal with Jackson. So, as I say, the Senegalese striker should be pretty confident coming into this game, especially given that in this fixture last season, obviously a very memorably chaotic game, he scored a hat-trick. So if you would remember, Spurs had 2 red cards. Jackson was in quite a poor run of form at this point in the season, but he sort of turned it around with a hat-trick in this game. So should be a ground that sort of brings back memories for him, good memories, and hopefully that inspires him to play with a bit more confidence. So combining the two comes out at even money, looks fantastic value. So that is all of the angles I've got prepared for this stream. 4 games covered, some good value I would say on offer so far. So that will be the end of the stream. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you very much for your support if you tuned in live. As I say, this will be released as a video, so no worries if you missed. And again, feel free to leave your comments and everything in the comment section, and I'll happily get to them. So that's all the games covered. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your interactions. Remember to stay tuned on Twitter, where I'll be posting sort of full write-ups, and I'll have my staking plan for each of these bets in the Telegram channel. So